Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to all of you. I hope you are doing well and staying safe. I would like to thank you for taking out time for joining us here today. I'm Rohan, and I represent the program management team for the Stanford Design Thinking from Insights to Viability course. As you all would be aware, this webinar is organized to give you a flavor of what design thinking is about and how design thinking can help build an innovative mindset. For today's session, we've been joined by Mr. Taha Muhammad Abdul Kareem. Mr. Taha is an esteemed alum of this program and is an experienced professional with almost 19 years of experience working in a variety of organizations in different industries. Currently, he is based in Qatar and he works with the Musker Group as a group general manager and an advisor to the board of directors. He also works as a consultant with Watnan Holdings. I'd like to thank Mr. Taha for making time for us and joining us here today for the webinar. Now, without further ado, over to Mr. Taha to take the webinar forward. Thank you so much. Over to you, Mr. Taha.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Rohan. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning to all those who are attending, depending on whichever part of the globe you are in. I am Taha Muhammad Abdul Kareem, speaking from Qatar. Path to innovation with design thinking. That's the next 1 hour of interaction we are going to have. So before starting, I will just give a little bit more introduction about myself. I've been working in different industries and different companies for the last 19 years. And it was 1 year back that I had an opportunity to learn design thinking program with Stanford Graduate School of Business and Great Learning. Believe me that this last 1 year makes me feel that had I learned this design thinking approach and the processes some time back, it would have definitely helped in my professional growth as well as helping me in serving the customers. So as we start the program, I want to tell you a few things. One, I am not a designer, neither am I a technical person. I am someone who has been interacting with customers or users of our products and services in whichever organization I have associated for last 19 years. So this session would be a testimony of a common man's real life experience after he attended the design thinking program. For some of you, this may be a life-changing session, like it happened in my case. For others, it will be just like something what you already know, maybe a reiteration. So last 1 year, I have started this journey with design thinking. So first, our session, I will give a brief introduction about the agenda, what we are going to discuss now, and then from there on, we will discuss further as to how my journey has been. So all those people who are listening, congratulations to you, because the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and you have made your first step towards design thinking, towards understanding design thinking, and maybe to make difference in the way in which you handle your customers or your users. Our agenda for the day will be what is design thinking, then the design thinking process, why use design thinking, who would benefit from the design thinking, why Stanford Design Thinking, then my design thinking journey with in the course, my learnings from the program, and then we will have a Q&A session. So this is how it will be. So design thinking is a word which we commonly come across, especially during the days when all the business organizations in the world are trying to win the hearts of the customers, and they cannot stay lethargic or idle, because every day there is some kind of an improvement and the customer demands are increasing. So let us try to understand what it is. It's a process for solving problems of the customers or users by prioritizing the consumer's needs above all else. So the first priority in design thinking is what our customer or our user needs. Then it relies on observing with empathy how people interact with their environments and employs an iterative hands-on approach. So these things we need to keep in mind. One, it is based on people, our customers, it is about human. Then we have to observe them with empathy, how we have to put in their shoes, and then how they interact with their environments. And we, this process is an iterative process. Every time we try, then we understand maybe there is some changes need to be done, so we go back to this process and we try it, and it's a hands-on approach. It is not about theory, it is not about just going forward with some notion in our mind. It is about creating innovative solution by keeping the customer in our mind all the time. So whenever we speak about design thinking process, usually we talk about 5 steps. This is the Stanford Design School. Also, the process is by Stanford Design School, wherein it starts with empathy for the customer. We have to empathize them. We have to put in their shoes, we have to observe them, we have to interview them, we try to understand them without being judgmental. So first point, whenever we are trying to approach design thinking, is that not to approach any situation with prejudices or judgments. So we need to be open, we need to understand what the customer requires. Sometimes even the customer may not be clear about his needs, so with proper interviewing techniques and observation, we will be able to understand what they really want. Once we empathize with them, then we define, then we have different ideas which will be coming, and then we make prototypes which are like mock-ups, which are where, because we can't go with the final product, so we go with the prototype, then we do the testing. After testing, if there need to be any changes which need to be done, we go back to the previous processes and then repeat. So this is why it is called a iterative process. So as I mentioned, first we have to think always about the customer's mind and empathize with them and gain an understanding about the problem we are trying to solve. So there is no prejudice in this. Then we have to define the user's needs and problems by observing them very clearly. Then we have to create ideas and alternate ways to view the problem. Then we come up with prototypes or solutions which are inexpensive, which are not the final product, just to check whether our understanding is correct. We make a prototype, we make scaled down versions, and then we again do the testing with our users. And as and when we get feedback, we need to do the corrections and then even do the testing again. And once we are good, that we are sure that the product is good to go, then we need to go into the implementation part. So in this approach, while I was mentioning, I was talking about the importance of giving importance to the user. So this part is called the what do people desire, our customer, our user, or our consumer, whoever we are interacting with, the people who are using our end products. So what they desire is one parameter which need to be, that's the starting point. And once we understand that, we need to see if it is technically and organizationally feasible. Do we have the technical capacity, organizational capacity to implement that? And then is it financially viable? Once all these three factors, the desirability, which is the people customer needs, are met, and it is technically feasible for the organization, and once it is financially viable, that is when we decide to go ahead with the innovation. So this design thinking, design thinking is about understanding the needs of the customer first, and then coming up with creative solutions. There are many times when I also used to think creativity or innovation, it is about thinking differently from everyone else. and coming up with something new. But the more I understood design thinking, I understand that creativity and innovation in business many a times is understanding what the unmet needs of your clients or your users are. So once we are able to understand that needs, that is when the design thinking comes into play. So why use design thinking? Design thinking can be applied in almost every industry where there are users, and these users have needs. And design thinking helps to solve the problems. It reinforces innovation because it is an iterative process. Every now and then we check and do the testing. So it reinforces innovation. It strengthens leadership. Many a times, earlier days, people used to have top-down approach where any decision from a leadership comes and people were supposed to follow. Any innovation used to happen at the top level. But here, these decisions which we take are from the feedback of the customers, from the people. The end user or users' needs are taken into consideration, and our decisions are taken. So this helps the leadership to get the confidence of the customers as well as the team. So this is another advantage for design thinking. And last but not the least, it is not only for the designers, it is about all those people who are interested in creative problem solving. Now let us see who would benefit from the design thinking. Any professional responsible for strategic challenges, driving growth, developing products and services, designing user interfaces and experience, new systems they are implementing new systems in the company. All these people have, can have a knowledge of design thinking will help them. For entrepreneurs and business owners interested in making an impact on their current customers and diversifying in their offerings to reach new customers. So if you have existing customers, you need to create an impact on them, and or you have to give new offerings to them. Both these cases, entrepreneurs can use design thinking. Educational professionals want to build upon their inquiry practice and enrich the student learning experiences, they can use it. The C-suite executives, the top level executives and leaders who need deep collaboration across multidisciplinary and diverse teams. Once our teams are bigger, we need the contribution and support, and to test different markets, we can use design thinking. And last but not the least, this is the most important thing. Any person who wants to have a creative problem solving in their day-to-day life, be it professional, be it personal, can use their design thinking knowledge. Be it in a family where you are interacting with people, and sometimes your family, your children are your users or your clients or your customer. For creative problem solving, to understand them better, we can use as a parent. If for children, to help them develop the problem solving skills, we can use them, we can teach them design thinking. So this is something which, for a human being who is interacting with many people, man being a social animal, we interact with many people, and many a times we have our customers or our clients or people who are interacting with us in the other side. So to understand them and to provide a better solution or a better product or a service to them, this design thinking can be used. This is one of the study which was conducted by Hasso-Plattner Institute in cooperation with Stanford University. This was in 2015. In that study, it was clearly mentioned that design thinking improved the working culture. Many of us working in the current busy schedules, especially during these times, we think that we are in silos, we are away from other people. But design thinking helps people to work together as team, to discuss, to co-create, to have brainstorming session. So it helps to improve the working culture. It helps the innovation processes more efficient, and even users are integrated more frequently. So these are some of the impacts of design thinking on organization or organizational culture. Who uses design thinking? Nowadays, any company who is trying to win the hearts of the customer, all those big names which we have here, the likes of the Apples and the Samsungs and the Nike and the Googles and Amazons, anybody who is interested in improving their customer experience trying to understand the new unmet needs of the customer, they all are using design thinking. So, and for a person who wants to understand whether design thinking can be applied in your area of work, you just need to check the application of design thinking in your area, and on your fingertips you will get a lot of success stories of design thinking programs which help businesses in similar fields like each one of you work, be it F&B like PepsiCo, be it healthcare like GE, be it a toothbrush company like for a brand like Oral-B, or for Airbnb and Uber Eats. All these companies are using design thinking. And IBM was one of the pioneers, earlier users of design thinking. So there are companies which were using for a long time, and there are companies which are the new gen companies which are using, like IKEA, like Amazon and all. This is just to give a value of a design value index, which was published in 2016, some time back. But the story continues the same. The data is a little old, but the story continues the same. You can see on the left hand side the companies which are the design centric companies, which are always focusing on their customer requirements, which includes the Apple, Ford, Coca-Cola, IBM, P&G, Starbucks, all these brands, and how they performed vis-a-vis S&P 500, the performance. So I had seen the data for 2-3 years continuously. All the years it was going more than 200% up compared to the S&P 500, which is the market. So which means that it design value index, for the moment you understand your customer, we always say that customer is the king, and the king will take care of you. Once we understand the needs of the customer, and once they realize that we are meeting their unmet needs, that's when our company's value will increase. So it is once we understand our customer needs, our company's value are also going to improve. Some sectors that have been revolutionized by design thinking: healthcare and medicine. I was mentioning about GE Healthcare. One of the examples wherein they did an excellent design thinking initiative in case of CT scan, where usually the children were very much scared about going for CT scan, especially being in the. So they use design thinking techniques to understand how a child behaves, and to make it easy for the child, so that a CT scan experience was converted into an adventure mission, and child started engaging it, and the need for giving sedation for the children also reduced. So this is one of the success story in healthcare. Public sector, in many of the public sector organizations in Europe have already embraced design thinking. This is the space exploration, an area where a lot of innovation and creative ideas need to come. Design thinking has been used in retail. I can give the example of IKEA, where they design furnitures and all. They try to understand the needs of the customer using design thinking, and they have had a lot of success with it. Food beverage industry, I can give you the example of PepsiCo, which was which market share was going down, and once they started engaging with design thinking, it could work wonders for them. In entertainment industry, you can check Netflix and design thinking. Banking industry, you can check Bank of America and the saving campaign they did along with design thinking. Tech industry, automotive industry, which includes the new name, the Tesla, how they use design thinking to revolutionize their area of operation. So these are the industries and sectors where design thinking, and there are many more. I have just listed a few. There can be education, there can be many other fields. So in irrespective of the field where you are working in, this is design thinking mindset and approach, and the processes will help us to be more connected to the customer. So in this, when we are thinking about starting this journey with design thinking, we have to have 3 E's. One, we need to empathize with the customer. At the end of the day, we need to understand the customer or the user, in whichever terms we use. So the end user or the customer, we need to empathize and understand what his or her unmet needs are. Then we need to have expansive thinking, which is we need to brainstorm, we need to discuss with more people, we need to share ideas, we need to gather ideas and then come up with solution. And third one is experimentation. So empathy, expansive thinking, and experimentation. We try, we come back, maybe we need improvisation, we reiterate the process, we go back. So this is how, it's an iterative process. It is not like, we decide on one thing and then we decide, okay, we are going to go ahead with it. That's not the way design thinking works. It needs a lot of iteration. So empathy, expansive thinking, and experimentation. And for us, when we are getting into any design thinking initiative, we should have a problem solving attitude. We need to say that we have to solve the problems or the unmet needs of our customers. Then it is all about our customer or user. It is not about who is the owner of the company, who is the top leader of the company. It is all about which customer or user he is serving. So we need to focus on human-centered design and iterative approach. So we have to repeat, go back, correct it, and come. That's how we do it. So this was generally my understanding. I was mentioning that I am not a design thinking scholar, but I am someone who got benefited from attending a design thinking program. And while why Stanford Design Thinking? Obviously, when I was reading a little bit about design thinking, I was also thinking which program to. There are a lot of options available. So I would say why Stanford Design Thinking is good. Fortunate, and I have been fortunate enough to attend some of the best institutions in the world for different managerial or leadership programs. And Stanford was always is always there in this big league. So obviously, I tried to understand how Stanford design thinking was a little different from the other design thinking program. One, even though this is a 12 weeks or a 3-month online program, the methodology of the program is the first one which attracted me. I mentioned about the 5 steps in the D School design thinking model. It is an expanded version, a little bit more expanded version of this, developed by Professor Stefanos of Stanford Graduate School of Business. He is the architect of Startup Garage. The Startup Garage is one of the flagship programs of Stanford, wherein they already raised billions of dollars for more than 130 startup companies. So startup the program, which is the design thinking program of Stanford Design Thinking program, is a part of the Startup Garage program which is run there, which has attracted a lot of seeding for initial capital for this startup companies. Then we mentioned that the first part is the empathize stage. In the first stage of design thinking, the first on the empathize stage itself, how we do the empathy part is clearly explained. Because when I listened to the empathy part, I wanted to know more answers as to how we will empathize with the customer. Okay, we all say we want to be in their shoes, but how to reach there? So a clear guidance is given in this program for reaching that level. Then it dives deeper into the techniques associated with define phase also. In the define phase also, we say space saturation, clustering of data, defining point of view. These are some of the terms which I will come detail into that. So it was going a little bit deeper into it, and the how part of implementing the design thinking was clearly mentioned. And in the last, there were 2 additional phases which was focused on business model canvas if it is for a product, or a business case canvas if it is for services, and doing experiments to confirm the viability. So at the end of the day, we bring with we try to meet the needs of the customer, but it has to be technically be viable, and it has to be sustainable for the business. So it has to be feasible and viable. So these 2 things also are being taken into consideration in Stanford Design Thinking program. Then another thing I was mentioning that I had attended quite a few programs both online and on campus, but normally the expectation on online campus, it is you understand more from the lectures, and once in a while we will have a live sessions, and we try to learn from whatever data we get it. But unlike other online programs, in the Insight to Viability program, there is a balance between theory and practical work with assignments. So there is assignment at the end of each module. Whatever you have learned, you need to put into practice. So it is not only about theory, it is about application also. Then we receive feedback from course facilitators. We can go back and reiterate the work. So there are a set of people called course facilitators whom we will be assigned to, and based on the assignment, we will be given real feedback, wherein we can go and iterate do the iteration. So this is another thing. And one more thing, if any of you are interested in joining this program, it is all about teamwork also. So we have lot of teamwork activities which include we have buddy system, wherein you are paired up with another person from different part of the world. So you discuss with the other person also about your program. So this then there is a team also, which is a bigger team, which is also helping you. Then there are interactive support sessions with the course facilitator and even with the participants. So this means that you will be engaged throughout the program in this kind of a session. For a person like me who didn't have much of a technical background, it helped me to the interaction with a lot of people from different background. It widened my thoughts, plus it helped me a lot in the brainstorming sessions. So that is there. Then live interactive sessions with professor. We had a couple of interactive sessions wherein it was not just a lecture. It was more about we engaging with the professor and with our team members and getting into meeting rooms and doing a lot of activities. So it was a fun ride. The interactive sessions, the support sessions with the course facilitators weekly were giving us inputs as to how we can improve on what we are doing. And so, and the buddies and the team, the way in which we used to work together. So this was making us giving us a lot of fresh ideas. Along with that, in many cases, people who could support us in technical areas, people who could be even lifelong friends when we have even newer challenges coming in our profession. Last but not the least, that global recognition. At the end of the programs, all the participants who successfully complete the modules will be awarded a certificate of completion from Stanford Graduate School of Business. And we know that what a Stanford certificate, how it values. So just to mention about the process, before we had told about empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. We were talking about the 5 parts. So when it comes to Stanford Design Thinking process, the empathize process is given a little bit more detail, which is about observe and interview. So the program deals with interviewing and observation and different techniques. Then saturate and cluster, which is about defining the problem. Once we do the observe and interview, we have something called an activity called space saturation, and then clustering, wherein we take these insights, then we developed a POV or a point of view, and we sit for the ideation phase, where we do the brainstorming. We do it all these ideas, we make the point of view, and based on this point of view, we do the ideation session. Then we come up with a prototype, which depending on the products, it can be a mock-up, it can be something in an inexpensive model, which will help us to explain to the user what we are going to come up with. Then we do the testing. Then we do the business model canvas or a business case canvas. Both are almost same. If it is a service, it is business case canvas, and if it is a product, it will be business model canvas. And then experimenting, experimenting. So any stage there will be iterate. This process means any stage we may have to go back to the previous step. Once we understand that we are going off track, once we get the feedback, we go back and iterate the process. So this is how the Stanford Graduate Design Thinking Program Insights to Viability works. So it is basically those 5 steps, but in a more detailed manner, and experimentation and business model canvas, which takes into consideration the viability factor, are also being built in. So this follows the design thinking method, but in a little more detailed manner, with a little more hands-on on each of these factors. So just to give an idea about my design thinking journey with in this program, uh, I have to give a little bit of background about when I took this course. It was just a month after COVID-19 had taken control of the way in which we were all working and living. So it was in last year, month 5, that we started this program. So there were a lot of uncertainties, lot of things. So I have different responsibilities. One is I had a retail group, then I have a consulting role as well. So for the retail group, we are having hypermarkets in Qatar. So this hypermarket, we have built it. We are the only family hypermarket, wherein we mean to say that only family customers are allowed to enter in the hypermarket in the peak shopping hours. So over last close to 9-10 years, we were promoting it, and we were creating an image, and we had already had a reputation in the minds of customer that this is a good place for peaceful family shopping. So that's where we were doing business, and we were having a place in the market. And that's when COVID-19 came into place. So we say family shopping, we say family, all the family members are coming together, and they are having a place where they can, they have a destination to go for family shopping. And suddenly COVID-19 comes and tells that enough of people gathering, let us have social distancing. Then people had a lot of worry. So that's the time when we had an innovation challenge which came. That's the starting point as to how might we improve the customer experience and thereby retain our customers during lockdown and post-COVID times. Because prior to COVID, it was the experience which the people were getting. It was the family shopping experience which was bringing the customer to us. And once social distancing became the norm, once people were no longer coming with family, our unique value proposition changed. So this was the challenge which I had to address as a part of the program. So we did observations and interviews. Observation again was a challenge, because physical observation, especially, we cannot gather. So I had to come up with with the support and suggestion from team. We used the close control CCTV cameras for observation of customers, how the user journey happens, how a person comes to the store and he moves around, what are the changes in behavior happened after COVID-19 by observation. Then after observation, we had some of our customers being interviewed also, both in person and by virtually. We did, and we collected insights and feedback from them. After this was done, this was all these insights were recorded into a whiteboard. This is also a part of the this all adds to the the real life hands-on experience of the program. So all these feedbacks were captured. Once they were put into the whiteboard, then similar groups were put together, and then we had a clustering thing. Once we had a clustering, then we had an empathy map. So the kind of verbatim, the feedback which we received from the customers were recorded. So all these were they were segregated into different groups, like their codes, their thoughts and beliefs, what they were planning to do, their actions and behaviors as due to this change, their feelings and emotions which were there. So all these were captured, and then we developed a POV, or a point of view. So we developed it for different type of customers. So we formed a composite character, which is like a typical customers were divided into different groups. So one of the groups I have given example here, which is about a Qatari family man who is working in government sector. He wants to find ways to be control the quality of his grocery shopping without exposing to the family, but at the same time he want to have he and his family order all the things. So for this, what we need to do, then we went back to the teams and buddies and we did a lot of brainstormings. So we came up with ideas. We even came up with ideas which were crazy ideas and normal ideas. All the ideas were captured. Based on these ideas, we came up with certain prototypes which are inexpensive model, like a option for customers to pre-book things, by WhatsApp, by models. Then when customers are visiting the store, how to have products readily available for them so that they don't have to spend more time. So different prototypes and models were there, and different experiences were given to the customer. Went back again, reiterate, did the iteration, and then went back to testing. And from then on, we came up with a few solutions for customers. So from the program, if I go sequentially, it all started with the innovation challenge, identifying what our innovation challenge was. Then we did the user journey mapping, how our typical customers behave. Then we did the observation and learned different techniques of observation in the program. Then also the interview techniques and how to get the feedback from people, how to conduct the interviews. Then space saturation and clustering, then composite characters, then point of view statement, brainstorming is another area where it has worked wonders. It ensures that the participation of the team is also there. So whenever we do brainstorming in our organization, what it helps is everybody feels owned for the ideas which are generated. When we have these interviews and observation with customers, and when we communicate with the customers, when we go for testing with the customers, they also own these ideas and they act as brand ambassadors for us. They propagate the ideas. Then after brainstorming, we made prototypes, explain the techniques. Then we will have to come back and do tweaking, then again testing. Then we come up with a minimum viable product, which is not the full-fledged product. Then we do the business model canvassing, experimentation. And after experimentation, sometimes we understand, okay, one of the assumptions which we had when we started, after we came up with this observation and interview, we need to change it and go back. So if that is the case, we do a pivot. It is not like we are starting from the beginning, but some of the assumptions we change it and we do it. If everything is working, we persist, then we go and implement the idea. So that's how we do things. So this design thinking journey, how it has helped, this program has helped for me is, whenever we are in facing situations where we have complicated needs of the customers, we are not sure about the needs of the customer, or when we are facing problem in terms of changes. For example, in my case, it was the pandemic created a change in the way in which the customers were behaving, or a customer could behave also because of restrictions. So how we need to adapt and how we need to gain their confidence. So when we reach such a kind of situation, be it in any part of life, be it in any industry, whenever we come across unmet needs and unclear needs, design thinking program, the design thinking approach definitely helps us to show us the right way, give us confidence, gain the confidence of our customers or our users. So this is how it's a win-win situation for our business, our team, as well as for our customers too. And in this around 40 minutes of time which I had explained, I was mentioning about many of the success stories, and you can find a lot of them when you browse the net. But the thing is, once we have this approach to understand the need of the customer and to work, and once we have a clear understanding as to how the processes need to be used, this will be a good tool for any one of us, and it will help us in our professional life. And once we start practicing it, automatically after some time, these thoughts will come even to our personal life, even to our relationships, and there also this creative problem solving approach will help us. I think now we can have a question answer session. So I think Rohan, if questions have come, so you can start sharing.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for that insightful presentation, Mr. Right. So we have a lot of questions coming in. And before I start off with taking those questions, I just want to mention that we do have a limited time to take up these questions. And we'll try and cover up as many as varied questions as we possibly can. So in case we miss out on your questions, we sincerely apologize for that. Right. Now, with that note, I'll put across the first question. Right. So, one of the viewers, they're asking
I'm
this
sorry,
question.
Rohan, you are not audible.
Am I audible now? Right. So one of the questions is, does one need to be a programmer to apply design thinking and prototype particularly? Mr. Ta, is my voice coming through? Hello. I think there seems to be some technical problem. Apologies for that. We'll just get back to it.
Rohan, I'm not able to hear.
Is my voice coming through now, Mr. Taha? Hello. Mr. Taha, is my voice coming through to you now? Everyone, thank you so much for staying tuned. We're just taking care of this technical issue and we'll get back shortly.
Since there is some problem with I'm not able to hear Rohan. I think I will take the questions from the chat box, and then I will be trying to answer them. How do you create prototype for a service industry? As we, as I told you, there are different prototyping techniques which are, which are available. In this program, we were given opportunity to work on different prototyping techniques, which starts with, normal products where we have a mock-up or we have a storyboard or user journey. So even in service industry, we can use user journey, wherein we understand, we see the user journey mapping. We see how a user behaves, what is the way in which a user or a customer particularly behaves, or we create a storyboard. We can also use something called Wizard of Oz or a mechanical Turk. These are some of the things, the tools which prototyping techniques which can be used in service industry also. So depending on the kind of product, service or solution which we are providing, we can have one or more type of prototyping techniques which can be used. I hope I have answered the question, and I'm sure for somebody who is keen in coming up with prototyping techniques, especially be it service industry, we have got a set of course facilitators as well as the professor who gives us a lot of hands-on guidance as to how we can develop those prototyping techniques. There is a question which has come: in what fields design thinking is relevant? Design thinking, I'll just go back to one of the previous slides which I had mentioned. It can be applied in almost every industry. Some of the industries I had mentioned here, which includes healthcare and medicine, education, public sector, retail, space exploration. So anywhere where there is a customer or a user interaction, even in government sector, then in terms of areas where entertainment, banking industry, tech industry, so anywhere where you are having customer or user, and where there is an user interaction, and where there are obviously there will be unmet needs or there will be new needs which will be arising. So in those areas, all those areas, we can use design thinking is relevant. And whichever field you are in, I request, if you are curious to know about the impact of design thinking in your area of work, it is just once you browse the net, you will get a lot of those success stories, and you will this is how I got into this program also. So I thought initially that design thinking would be for designers, or it is for someone who is into software or user experience or something. So then I was I just wanted to know, and I asked I was just browsing through the net, and I checked the use of design thinking in retail, and that helped me to learn basics. And even now I'm saying I'm trying to put things into practice, and the more we put into practice, the more we learn about this whole approach. There is a question like, how has the way you teach design thinking changed over the past 2 decades? I am very newcomer in this field. I started reading about this a few years back, and then I learned it a year back. But I have seen the way in which the design thinking concept have evolved. And initially it was only a few companies who were embracing this, and now it is like everybody who is into innovation, who wants to be with the customer, all of them are using it. So the way in which the word has been used has gone up. Even now there are schools which are teaching design thinking for kids, giving programs on design thinking for kids to help them develop a problem solving attitude. So the way in which the use and the use of design thinking is very much wide. The scope of use is very much wide. So it is used in many industry, and the way in which it is taught is also changing. Even there are companies which are discussing about use of design thinking in family, in different roles in family. So the scope has widened, and it is being used widely. There is a question like, do we need to know any programming language to prototype? I was mentioning in the presentation, if it was required, I couldn't have completed, because there are many tools, ready-made tools available. There are many things which doesn't need any software or anything also for prototyping, depending on the product or service or the solution, and depending on your innovation challenge, you can use it. But knowledge of programming language is not required. You don't need to be a technical guy. Only all you need is you need to have a problem solving attitude and an interest to listen to people. What are the common challenges we might face during design thinking process? The common challenges, which I would say, one is it's all in our mind, because many a times we are used to, especially people working in the top level, top management, or middle or upper middle management. Usually it is tops down. Whenever we try to, we give mandates, we come up with ideas or solutions which our team follows. So this is something which we, so in design thinking, this mindset is the first thing which we need to change. We need to be open, we need to be willing to listen to the user, and we should be able to we should be willing even to listen to our team members, even in brainstorming. Even we need to have, to be open for crazy ideas. We need to listen to those people who come, maybe not having experience in our field, but they will come up with a fresh idea. So this change in mindset is one of the biggest challenge. And second thing, this iteration process, it is at the end of the day, this it is not like a magic stick where you come up with a solution and you have only problems in your hand, you have only the innovation challenge. And from there on, it is about how well you observe, how well you interview, how well you do the saturation and clustering. So it is all about process, and each stage we must be open to correction. We should not say that, okay, this is sometimes we decide for any defined problems, or any problems where we have a defined solution, design thinking will not help. But for anything where we are open to change, where we want to have new solutions, we are creative and open to embrace change, there won't be much challenges. And the thing is to bring your team aligned to the design thinking process. This will also be a challenge, especially for organization which have been working in a particular way for a long time. People usually work in silos, so to make them work in brainstorming as team, so this initial phase, this will be a little difficult. So we need to start a little small, share success stories of those, see the make others understand about the uh, the positive effects of how design thinking has impacted this particular area. And then slowly people will start embracing. For someone who has been an entrepreneur for over 12 years and is acquainted with innovation, how will this program be of help? For any person who wants, this is my understanding, for any person who wants to understand, because in terms of entrepreneur, we will be serving a customer, and customer changes, our competition changes, the market rules changes. So we need to have an open mind, and we have to keep our eyes and ears open, and even our heart open to the changes happening. And if we are able to if we are willing to listen to the customer, definitely this program will help. And second thing, it will help to identify what changes, because as an entrepreneur, we are creating any product or service or any business. What we are doing, it is for our customer or for our end user, not for our personal consumption. So how he thinks or she thinks, if we are able to understand, and if we are able to come up with solution, the entrepreneurial experience which we have and the skills we have developed, along with that, if we are having a clear idea about uh, the customer needs, then it will be a combination, a winning combination, and it can help us go even further. Can we use design thinking in our area of work based on mega trends like sustainability, reliable infrastructure, data science, etc.? As I mentioned before, in any area where we are interacting with our users and or customers, and where there are unmet needs or problems which are coming out with changes, this design thinking principles and can be used. And it is not about, it is it is about a mindset, and it is about some processes which will help us to tackle the changes, and to to understand what changes has happened or what unmet needs are there. So in any area where we are mentioning about, where there is a user interaction and when there is a change, this the design thinking approach and its principles can be used. Since there is a difficulty with the audio, I am trying to see the questions. There is a question about uh, what's the difference between design thinking and systems thinking. As I mentioned here, design thinking is about innovation. It is about human-centered approach. So basically, it is for anything when it comes to innovation, new changes, meeting the customer needs. That is where in design thinking comes in. So it is basically like a bottoms-up approach. From the customer, we work backwards. Whereas systems thinking, from my limited understanding, it is about looking at the bigger picture, or it's usually for a tops down approach. So it is usually done for integration rather than for innovation. It's for something which we are doing, we need to make it done done throughout the organization. So this is a different it's a tops down approach, whereas the other one is from the customer backwards. There is a question about the program, about the hours of investment for program, hours of investment for the program. So I will tell from my personal experience. Rohan or grad learning team can correct. In a week, especially this unlike other online programs, this needs more time, wherein it is not only about reading the seeing the video lectures or reading the materials which are given. It is about spending time with your customer, spending time with your colleagues, with your team, doing a lot of activities. So for me, I think usually in a week, usually 18 to 20 hours you need. So more than 3 to 4 hours a day was needed, and due to the partial lockdown and situation, there were some other challenges also doing some of the activities. But still, on an average, if you are willing to spend around 4 hours, but it is not different from, because Unlike other programs, when you are doing something away, it is about understanding a theoretical part. But in design thinking, you will be doing your innovation challenge will be something related to the area of work you are doing. So it is not away from your work, and you are trying to understand your customer. So if you can dedicate around 3 to 4 hours a day, I think that should be enough. The This is from my personal experience. Great learning, or Rohan can throw more light on that. The time effort investment in the program, so it is similar. So it is a 12 weeks program. So 12 weeks mean it includes doing our assignment and going through the video lectures, as well as going through the study material, then preparing the assignment, having interactions with our buddies and our team. This is like a 12 weeks, a little bit intensive, and I think it is worth it. It is more like a fun ride. It is, you won't feel like you are doing a program or an educational, a course. Rather, you will feel like you are having a, you know a journey, an adventure, adventurous trip or something, wherein you are trying to unleash the customer needs, and you have a lot of insights and new things learned every day. So if we go without a biased approach, or if we are going, if we are not having a definite, only thing is we need to be clear that what customer needs we don't know, we have to find it, rather than going and saying that okay, we know it all, then it will be a little challenging. But otherwise, every minute you spend for this program, you will definitely enjoy it. Yeah, and even just to add, because it is, even though the minimum requirement for completing the assignment and all will be there. For example, in my case, I was so much interested in the brainstorming sessions of the program, that even with other groups and friends in the batch, I was doing brainstorming sessions more than the what was actually required for the program, because this helps us to learn. So the more interested you are, it is like you spending more time on a computer game. You try to do more, so that you learn more things. And so that's how the time investment, 3 to 4 hours a day, will be very good. Even if you can have around 3 hours, it should be enough. And depending on people having your expertise, knowledge already, I'm talking about someone who didn't have any idea about the whole design thinking before I joined the program, so it may vary. I think most of the questions are answered. If there is anything more which need to be answered, if it is there, I request the team to follow up. So thank you all for listening to me for this time. And as I told in the beginning, first of all, congratulations to all those people who attended. Maybe this is a beginning for you, for a life-changing, journey. Because design thinking, if done well in any field, irrespective of the field of work you are in, it will help you to have, innovation. It will help you to come up with new ideas and innovation in your field of work. So wishing you all great design thinking days ahead. And I would like to thank Rohan and Great Learning team for giving me this opportunity. And apologies for the technical glitches in between, because of which the audio was not visible. Thank you very much. Over to Rohan.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Tar. And thank you so much for taking out time, everyone. And we again sincerely apologize for the internal communication breakdown. But I hope this session has proved to be valuable for you. And we hope that you have managed to gain some understanding about design thinking from this process. And in case you do have any questions or queries, please feel free to reach out to us. And we'll be more than happy to help you out with it. So once again, thank you so much.